Herzlich willkommen zum Sterne- und Planeten-Podcast. Mein Name ist Sascha Bilert und das ist dein Podcast für inneres Wachstum, Begegnungsqualität und organisationale Entwicklung. Heute spreche ich mit John Stepper, dem Erfinder von Working Out Loud. Und weil du auch genauso gut bei Wikipedia nachlesen kannst, was WOL eigentlich ist, geht es um den Menschen John Stepper und wie er eigentlich dazu kam, etwas für ihn vollkommen Neues und Gefährliches zu wagen. Viel Spaß und eine gute Zeit beim Reinhören. John Stepper, welcome to the show. I'm very happy that you are here. Hello.
Well, nice to meet you, Sascha. Thank you.
Hello. John, we've heard a lot about Working Out Loud, but who is John Stepper? Could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I think maybe the best way of introducing myself, what defines me? Well, I have 5 kids. I've worked in big companies my whole life, 30 years. And what I'm known for now is that I created a method, a space where people can realize more of what they have to offer. Mm-hmm. And that's what Working Out Loud has become, is a way for people to realize more of their potential. And when they do, they feel better. They're more effective, and they tell their friends. And that's how it's grown to be something that's in companies and countries I never would have expected when I wrote about it.
Yeah, it's pretty much around, I guess it's in over 60 countries now, right?
It is. I saw someone from Zimbabwe say, hey, John Stepper, I'm in a circle. And I'm thinking, Zimbabwe? Really? And that was very cool. It's to be clear, it's primarily in Europe and the US. Yeah. But it has found its way to 65 some odd countries.
It's pretty amazing, isn't it? We'll dig a little bit deeper into the concept, or let's say mythologically, into Working Out Loud. But before we do that, maybe you can tell us a little bit about your personal work experiences. I mean, how on earth did you start, Working Out Loud? How did you even come to think about all the principles which are in it? You said you worked 30 years in huge organizations. Tell us a little bit about it, John.
Well, I think like many people who've worked in organizations, you kind of play career roulette, right? Like sometimes you get a good boss, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you have a good year, good performance review, sometimes you don't. Same with project budgets, reorg, etc. And around 2008 in the financial crisis, I was working at Deutsche Bank, and my career, which was going fine, really, up until that point, it started to be something I could no longer control or feel good about. Mm-hmm. And so I was very much looking for, I have 5 kids. I was in midlife. I said, well, what am I going to do? Yeah. And you have this kind of existential crisis, like what I need to work for a long time. Yeah. What am I going to do? And so I was looking for ways that would give me more control of my career, that would help me kind of make my own opportunities, shape my own reputation while still working inside this company. And that was the beginning of Working Out Loud. That was the original motivation that led me to at least look for something that would help me get more from work and help me gain access to more opportunities rather than just, hoping to be picked.
I mean, 2008, let's just remember, it was the time where a lot of people were laid off. I mean, you are now talking from New York, right? A lot of people were laid off, especially in the financial industry. You've been working in the financial industry at that time, right?
That's right. I mean, we were joking before the call that I studied computer science before the internet, which gives me some bizarre credibility, maybe. I worked in technology on trading floors, risk management, derivatives, all that. And what was very different from what I do now, but what it gave me was a lens on individual and organizational behavior. Like when you work in an investment bank, you see a very wide range of individual, team, and organizational behavior.
Yeah.
Some of which was good in terms of ambition and success of a kind, and some of which was toxic. So that was good. It was a good training ground for me to see what motivated people and what could change behavior.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Very interesting. And I mean, I'm trying to put myself into your shoes, like 12 years ago, which is not an easy task. But I'm thinking like, okay, so I mean, you were probably like thinking, how on earth can I save my ass? Can't I mean, didn't you?
That's a very I love the German directness. That is exactly right. That's exactly it.
Yeah.
So what happens even in an investment bank, where you think, oh, there's plenty of money and it's a high class problem. You know, rightly or wrongly, your mindset is, how do I protect what I have? And so inside these big banks in particular, but in many places, it is a very defensive culture, which makes it a very competitive culture. Again, sometimes to good effect, many times not. And what I remember, 2008, Facebook was like 2 years old.
Mm.
Yammer had just come out. And so we had Google's suite for the workplace,
Mm-hmm.
et cetera, et cetera. And so as a technologist, what happened at the time was I started to work on collaboration technology inside the bank. And I said, this is it. We can bring in these social tools inside the bank. And that would help people like me to take more control of their career. Because instead of a boss saying, you know, you're good or bad, or I like you or I don't like you, you could make your work visible, shape your own reputation,
Mm-hmm.
and build your own network.
Yeah.
And that, around 2008, 2009, we started to go to Jive conferences, if anyone out there remembers Jive, a social intranet. And then I introduced this social intranet into the bank in 2011.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Oh, and nobody used it, by the way. So the technology is important and enabling, but it's not sufficient. And so as a technologist, I said, well, it's not having the effect I want. That's what led me to say, this isn't an IT problem. It's a behavior problem. It's a habits problem.
Mm-hmm.
And that changed the course of my career and my life.
It's interesting to hear that from a guy who, you know, has a background in technology. And I mean, we'll talk about it later about the principles of WOL, working out loud, which are very like people orientated versus we're not really like technology oriented. You can do it like offline, online, through email, whatever. Right. But in 2011, you said you introduced it. 2011 is also the year where you started your blog, right? And you started blogging right. about organizational topics, organizational developments, which was a blog not only available to your colleagues, but which was a public blog. What let you do that? What was the motivation behind that?
I love that question. So what you don't know is that I started blogging internally 3 years earlier.
Right.
And even that was terrifying. So, I mean, you know, now it's 2020 and I've been doing this for a while. And so people might go, oh, like that's what he does, or it's normal for him, or no. This was horrifying. Mm-hmm. And if you talk to my wife, she would still remember the evenings and mornings worrying about what I'm going to write or that kind of thing. Why I did that was because I was about to give one of my first public talks at a conference in Boston. And here I was talking about, you know, making your work visible and using these social tools. And if you Googled me, you typed in John Stepper, you would find Stepper exercise equipment.
Mm-hmm. I see.
Like I was invisible.
Yeah.
So like, who the hell is this guy?
Yeah.
And so I screwed up my courage. I bought a domain name, johnstepper.com, and I wrote a post so at least when they searched for me, they could say, oh, he's this guy. And I think the first post was something that, called This I Believe.
Yeah.
That just was a list of things I thought to be true, which is largely still true. But that's why I did it, was because almost out of embarrassment that here's some guy talking about social business, which is what we called it at the time, and I was invisible, so I fixed that.
Interesting. So you started to build your own kind of reputation.
That's right.
At that moment, right? Interesting. And I mean, if you look, by the way, your first blog post, This I Believe, it's still available. Like everything you blogged from that period, from 2011, and you did it for many years, right? I mean, it's not something you just did for one time for your reputation, but you kind of you really built your reputation there. And I guess it did not finish with your wish to build your reputation. You did it for many years. I'm not sure if you're still blogging on a regular basis. You are, right?
Every Wednesday.
Every Wednesday.
You'll see it tomorrow.
Right. Yeah. So, well, I mean, you must have had a bigger motivation behind building your reputation, right?
Yeah, which is, I think, something everybody has. I have something to say. I may not be Tim Ferriss or Seth Godin or Simon Sinek. Pick your person. That wasn't my goal, and still isn't. Although that sounds nice, but it was much more basic than that. Which I have something to contribute, I think. And this gave me a voice.
Mm-hmm.
It gave me a channel. It gave me a way to offer that. And then the more I did it, the more I saw other benefits. But this was as fundamental or as basic as expressing myself in a way that I thought might be helpful to some other people.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody, but that might be of service to somebody who had similar opinions or interests as I do.
Right. And you said it was quite horrifying for you, but also for your wife, right? Doing
Yes.
it. I mean, I read
she still complains about that.
Really? I read some of a post from that time. It's nothing like the SWAT team would come in to talk with you about. So what was it that you said was so horrifying for you at the time?
It was, but that's a little dramatic. But what I meant was, it's just the voices in your head.
Mm-hmm.
Who cares what I have to say? What if it's stupid? What if somebody doesn't like it? What if I get in trouble?
Yeah.
So you certainly, you're working inside a bank, and we weren't even sure we were allowed to have a blog.
Mm-hmm.
And then if we did have a blog, why do you have time for that?
Yeah.
When do you do it? Do you do it during work hours? Don't say anything about the company, right? And so you have all of these little voices, some real, some imagined,
mm-hmm.
That would make you think twice about it. And if it's already difficult enough to put words down, all of those little voices made it that much more difficult. But the need I had to kind of raise my hand and take more control of my career was stronger than those little voices. So it made me keep going.
Mm-hmm.
I knew it was the right thing to do.
Right. And I mean, you're talking about a prolonged situation and time, which is some years ago, but I think it's a timeless topic, which many people can relate to. I mean, this fear of, being kind of socially excluded or judged upon. And what helped you, John? I mean, what helped you go through this and do the blog posts right then?
Right. So that And that very much lends itself, or ties in with working out loud, because of course it's difficult. Like you said, on the one hand, you want to be outstanding, but you don't want to stand out, if that makes sense. It's deep in our brainstem is this fear of standing out, because if we do, bad things might happen. So what helped me were earlier inside the company, when I wrote a few things, I started to find people like me through the social internet that we had. And the feedback from those people, positive, constructive, supportive, encouraging, if you will, my network, said, oh, like what I have to say is of value to some people. Again, not everybody. It wasn't about popularity or likes.
Yeah.
It was, there was a community out there. There was my tribe in the company. And that, after a couple of years of that said, okay, that gave me enough confidence to say, well, if there are those people inside the company, there may be some outside the company. And it's my network that gave me that strength or support or courage. And it's true today, by the way. I mean, it's no different. I rely on them. I rely on that feedback as motivation to keep making new things, or to keep, not just to express opinion, but to actually try to kind of dare to make things that I think might be useful, even though I'm unsure if it'll work.
It's interesting because today, I mean, it's 2020, right? The tribe you talked about, which supports you and which kind of constantly, because the tribe is worldwide now, right? It's not only in the organization where you worked or your family and friends. It's also a lot of people who don't know you personally, but they know you through your work, working out loud. The tribe is very huge. It became very big, which supports you. And in 2015, the book came out about working out loud. I'm not even sure if the TEDx talk, you also gave a TEDx talk about it. If
that was, so the book I self-published,
right,
by the way, which is a very working out loud thing, right? Like I could have shopped around some idea and hoped somebody picked me. I thought the odds of that were low, and I wanted to do it anyway, so I self-published it. And then it was, 9 months later, I gave a TEDx talk, which was a great opportunity.
Yeah.
And a month after that, I got laid off.
Oh my God.
but this is, so the fears I had about getting laid off in 2008, 2010, those years were real. And if I got laid off then, I was invisible. I'd have to cross my fingers and hope that my 2-page resume would get attention.
Yeah.
You fast forward 5 years, and now I have worked out loud, so I've shaped my reputation. I have a book, talks, papers, blogs, etc. And does that guarantee me a job? No. Does it increase my chances that I will find meaningful work? Yeah, by a lot. And so even though I was laid off, it wasn't fun. But the next month I had my own company. I had a speaking engagement with Bosch, and I was going to do something very different that I chose. And that felt great. A little terrifying, but still great.
Yeah. Fantastic. And now it's pretty big. I mean, as we talked about earlier, working out loud is in around 60 countries, hundreds of organizations already adopted it. Many more are to come. Huge organizations, by the way, in Germany, it's very big. I'm not sure if it's the country where it's thriving the most, but it seems like that, right?
I love the Germans.
Of course. Who doesn't? Why do you love them?
So I for a number of reasons. One is, so to be clear, why is it big in Germany? It's because Katharina Krenz and Bosch were the first people to spread it inside a company. And then Bosch has a great reputation and also is very connected. So then they told BMW and Daimler and Siemens and so on. And so that's, ideas and behavior spread through social networks. So did working out loud. So that's one reason. But the other is, I've gotten, as a result of the last few years, I've gotten to visit all parts of Germany and work with people in all the wide range of companies. And they're lovely people. I mean, yes, sometimes they like to think of themselves as stern and direct and all of that.
Yeah.
But underneath that tough shell is like a big teddy bear inside.
Oh my God, that's very sweet. I'm sure people will love that part.
You'll see. No, I was walking in Stuttgart, and I'm a New Yorker. I don't know. I'm friendly, and so as I walk in the park there, I would say hello to people.
Mm-hmm.
Morgan, and my friends were like, "No, you don't do that."
Yeah.
But again, some people would smile and be friendly. I love the country, and I hope to go back soon.
Nice to hear it. Yeah, it's really, really nice to hear it. When was the the first time when you thought like, oh my God, I think working out loud is going big? When did you have like the first sense of that?
Never.
Oh, interesting.
And so again, not to be dramatic, but I like big compared to what? And so it's on the one hand, it more people are using the methods I've created than I ever imagined. That's true, and it's in companies I never imagined that I would work with. Like I didn't think that. So that's true, and yet it's a big world. So perhaps maybe a better way to say it is that my aspirations or ambitions for how many people I could reach, and in the different ways I could reach them, that those have grown. I'm just not satisfied or content. There's a lot of work to do, and I'm eager to do that.
I see. I mean, if you just spend a little bit of time researching about John Stepper, you will very, very fastly find out that you're a very humble man, right? So your answer does not surprise me a lot. But let me just...
kids will keep you humble.
Yeah. Not everybody will, but yeah. So let me just reframe. I mean, it's because, as you said, it's become bigger than some people thought, and you also thought. Like, was there a moment where you got a glimpse of that feeling like, yeah, it's really like helping a lot of people, more people than I thought? And,
So, yes. So there were probably, it might be 2016. So we had the first Working Out Loud conference that was cross-company. Mm-hmm. And so Katarina and Lucas from Daimler and Sabina from Siemens and a number of people came together and they formed a community of practice. So 8 companies that were spreading Working Out Loud, and they put up a conference. And so for me, I come off the plane from New York, I go to some place, and there's this audience in Germany of people I've never met, of people, not just in big companies, but all walks of life, who somehow care about this Working Out Loud. Mm-hmm. And that blew me away. So you're right. So that was a moment where, it didn't portend commercial success necessarily, or that it would be some wildly popular thing.
Yeah.
But it did say, oh, this is bigger than me and bigger than I might have imagined otherwise, that I'm in this place with a couple of hundred strangers who are passionate about this kind of topic, this method.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I was talking today to a friend, and I said, yeah, later on I'm talking with John Stepper from Working Out Loud. And she was like, wow, what, really? And was like celebrity status, and she was like, can you ask him if he's like a real person? And he also sticks his fingers in his nose sometimes.
I'm a real person. Like, yes, you can tell her that.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely. Before, yeah. Sorry.
Oh, I like, something I do every day, and I'm glad you brought that up, because what I want to convey to people is not how awesome this method is or that I did a certain thing. It's not about me. It's about them. And so I want everyone to feel like they have the ability to make much more of all that they have to offer.
Mm.
And I want to create a space, an experience where they can actually do that.
Mm.
So if I put myself on a pedestal or this method on a pedestal, that's the opposite of what I want. I want to elevate other people so they can do more, so they can be more and realize more of their potential. And that's why you'll see a lot of community engagement, a lot of interaction with people in circles around the world. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that, and I never want to be, oh, he's that guy. Like,
yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
there's not much of a chance of that anyway.
Yeah.
But I would rather people don't know who I am, but they really treasure this experience they had with other people in their circles.
And I mean, it meets your philosophy that everything like from Working Out Loud is available online and for free from the website workingoutloud.com. I guess I think it is. We'll
right.
share the link afterwards in the podcast, definitely. So everybody can use it like for free, and everything is open and open source, right?
Yes and no. So that's interesting to bring that up. So it's free in that people can register and they get the circle guides and they can have an experience, and it's great. And it's very democratic, meaning like anyone can try it. The barriers to entry are low. Like you register with your email address. What I've learned though over the past few years is that structure and support helps. So, for example, one of our customers is Deutsche Bahn or Merck, and a few people in the company might try it for free. Maybe they like it, they tell their friends, so maybe you get a few dozen, and that's great. But if you can also get human resources involved and make it part of the onboarding program, or have Deutsche Bahn management support it so that they spread it and they give people a time to work on it, then you can get to thousands of people. And so what I'm doing now is both. If you're a student and you want to find a job and you think a circle will help you, fantastic. Register. And if you're a company and you said, boy, we really want to change the culture, then you could do that too. And that involves more.
Yeah, sure. I understand. Yeah. Which brings me, to an interesting thing I discovered you in an interview. You said that you were very surprised when you found out that companies are adopting Working Out Loud, which surprised me because I always he thought about companies adopting Working Out Loud.
No, I wasn't that smart.
No, of course. So what did you think about people, private people outside?
So remember, I wrote the book. It's 2014, first edition. And I'm just thinking this is a way that individuals can take a bit more control of their career. So that's who it was for. At the time I was coaching people, just, on the side as part of developing this method. I just started to form circles so that there could be peer coaching that was more scalable. But that was it. And it was really Bosch in 2015 and Katarina Krantz who said, no, our company's looking for this kind of thing to connect people across different areas to help them use Bosch Connect and the digital tools. And I'm like, oh, well, yeah, that makes sense. But I didn't imagine that management would be that receptive in general. Right. And I never imagined that I would be able to convince them or sell them something. Yeah. So that emerged, that possibility over 2015, 16, 17. And then it became clear as Bosch really started to spread it with a few other companies that this is a great tool for becoming a more agile organization or just for culture change generally.
Yeah. Very interesting. Let's talk a little bit maybe about how really working out loud works. We didn't do that so far. So you talked a little bit about the principles behind working out loud, which are like, relationships, and generosity plays a big role, being visible at work, purposeful discovery, a growth mindset. But what is like how to call it? The mechanics? Can you say that like that? Like the mechanics behind the system? Is it even a system? Is it like a circle of people which help each other? I mean, you know what I mean? Like a lot of people are like, it makes sense, but isn't it just like common sense, to help each other out?
Right. So, and the answer to them is yes, it is. But so is diet and exercise. And if you could figure out a way that helped people to eat better and be more active, and they did it and they felt good while doing it, you would have done a great thing. So what is working out loud? It says there's more that you have to offer. So there's a lot that you bring to the table that you're not currently using in work or life. That's an underlying assumption. Everybody matters. Everybody has a lot that they could contribute in some way that doesn't fit neatly into their job description, perhaps. And we are wired as social animals for this giving and receiving. It's very human, very natural. And so what I did was say, how could we take these kind of basic truths about ourselves and then help people cultivate some new habits, a new approach, a new mindset, help them practice that over time in a psychologically safe space where you don't have to worry about judgment or status. And then step by step, week by week, you experience the benefits. It becomes a new normal for you. It opens you up a little bit and you're like, yeah, you know what? As many people use this phrase just today in my email, it made my world bigger.
Mm-hmm.
Right? There's more out there that I didn't know. There's more that I can contribute that I either didn't know or was afraid to. And so the mechanics are small steps practiced over time with a small group of people in a safe space. So that you can experience benefits, cultivate some new habits, develop some new skills, and then you keep practicing. Right? You keep realizing these benefits. Some people join 2 circles, 3. I joined my 10th because it turns out you can apply these techniques and this method to kind of any goal that you have at any time.
And just to make a little bit of also the frame of the whole thing, it's like a 12-week program, right? Where you meet once every week with a group of around 4 to 5 people, correct?
That's right. 4 to 5 people, an hour a week for 12 weeks. And there are circle guides each week that give you enough structure, exercises, discussion, like you are learning by doing. And by the end of those 12 weeks, you've picked a personal goal that you care about. So if you have 5 people, you have 5 different goals. And then week by week, you build relationships with people related to that goal so that you make progress, build your network, and get a deeper sense of all that you have to offer by the end.
Mm-hmm. I read in another interview where...
So you've done your homework, Sascha.
I mean, it's kind of a job, it's not a job, but yeah, of course. Thank you, by the way, for recognizing. So I read in an interview where the interviewer, by the way, was way more critical than me. And she asked something like, but it doesn't change the system, the operating system behind the organizations, right, John?
Right.
And I was thinking, like, yeah, it's an interesting question. So, and I didn't feel that you digged into that topic enough. So, of course, especially maybe you for sure, in Germany we have like, as probably in most countries, this discussion of on which level of the organization do you try to change something. Do you change the system before you change like the relationships? Do you change the mindset before you change the system? So how does it play with working out loud here?
I love that question. And in fact, in the second edition of the book, I wrote a chapter just about this. Because, right, is it top down? Is it bottom up? And of course, like anything else, those things are interrelated. So take Bosch as an example, right? You could, if you wanted, wait for the Vorstand, for the board to direct change and wait for that to cascade down, right? I personally do not want to wait. I've waited for 30 years. So what's a way that we could help individuals craft their job, craft or change their experience at an individual level? And then you certainly help that individual. Now, does that make a difference for the company? Well, if you look at Bosch, it's part of their onboarding program. They have it for management development programs. They've got it for culture change programs. And they've got well over 5,000 people in circles. So now what's happening is you're starting to spread these behaviors to a critical mass of people. And when you do that, now you're starting to affect decisions, right, about how things are done. You're starting to affect what behaviors, what knowledge, what resources are visible in the company. You don't have to get everybody to work out loud, but if you get 10, 15% of the people, that tips the culture. So there's this interplay. Of course, grassroots isn't enough, but at a certain point, and there's some nice studies that show this, at a certain point, which could be 15, 20% of the people, you absolutely affect decision-making, affect the culture, and then you can accelerate that change. So you make it easier, and Katharina Krentz did this beautifully. She started as one person with one circle, then a few dozen, and over time she got evidence that eventually gave her the support of the head of human resources who's on the board. So would he have done that without that grassroots? Probably not. So that's the kind of interplay. So your grassroots makes it possible to get institutional support, and that institutional support allows you to get scale and reach you wouldn't get otherwise.
I wonder if there are like special groups within organizations where working out loud is especially successful, like, or adopted by the people, and others who like, I don't know, publicly like it but don't practice it. Is there something like that?
Sure. I think the way the method is right now, it tends to be for people who work in offices, who work in who are knowledge workers, so to speak. And what I'm just about to write about tomorrow is we're doing a pilot for healthcare workers who are in operational environments, who don't have time to sit for an hour with 4 to 5 people, or who may not have access to internet or other kind of social tools. And so to answer your question, I think that the needs that Work Out Loud addresses are universal, which is I have something to contribute. I have a voice, and I want access to more opportunities just like anybody else. But there are other environments in other contexts that we'll adapt the method for those people specifically. Yeah.
I was thinking, like, especially, I'll tell you the truth, I didn't say that, but because it just came to mind. What I meant was especially like the area of management, where I thought like maybe that's an area where working out loud is is very, very useful, as it's useful everywhere, but maybe there it's more complex to introduce it, but maybe I'm wrong, and it was just a hypothesis.
I'd say it probably has more to do with culture of the company than it does with necessarily a certain kind of management or a specific divisional area.
Yeah. Right. Let's maybe shift a little bit to your personal story. I mean, Oh, don't worry. I mean, come on. It's a safe space here.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no worries. So I wonder, I mean, you have been working like 30 years on in different organizations on the trading floor, right? Now you've made like over 10 working out loud circles yourself, and how did it change you? I mean, it's hard for me imagining like John Stepper, like, I don't know, 12, 15 years ago, talking in the same style and with the same like background theories about people and organizations like I can listen to you now. So I wonder, how your mindset, openness, whatever you call it, changed through going through this process.
So I'm a different guy, for sure. And I'd say, to answer that question, think of two of the elements of working out loud where I feel like I've developed myself. And again, this is well into midlife, right? So even old dogs can learn new tricks, apparently. So I'm thinking of purposeful discovery and a growth mindset. So if you went back, let's say 15 years, I'm in the middle of my career, it was all about gaming the system to try to maximize my personal outcome. Like, how do I get a good review, get a bigger bonus, outcompete somebody? Like, that was largely how I was trained, and those are the corporate cultures I was in. And sometimes you win and sometimes you lose. So that's what I mean by career roulette. Since in the last 15 years, certainly over the course of working out loud, I have learned that I could do almost anything with small steps practiced over time, especially with the support of friends and my network. So I've got that, I'm not good or bad at this. I'm just not good at it yet. And that's a very empowering feeling. And then purposeful discovery to me means that, there is a lot that I don't know that's out there. And so instead of just viewing as my world as I work in Deutsche Bank and my only options are to keep this job and hopefully get promoted, the world's a lot bigger than that. And so with these small steps and making them visible, I was able to literally put things out there that enabled new possibilities to emerge. And if you asked me, I never could have imagined that we'd be on the phone now, and that I'd have this kind of job and this kind of work, that I've done what I've done. All of that emerged. And so what does that mean? It means that I'm more open and optimistic and positive than ever before. And that's at 56 years old, after having been laid off. That's a pretty good place to be. And that's what working out loud has given me, this sense of optimism, of hope, of even control, in the sense that I can shape my future. I have some ability to do that, but to do it in a way that's also good for other people, not just competing against them.
It sounds to me, although there are some thousands of kilometers between us now, like it has a spiritual dimension.
I don't write about that because I think it does, not purposely. There's no hidden agenda at all, but the spiritual agenda, the spiritual tone, is one that recognizes our interconnectedness. That one, it's one that recognizes the value of each person, that everybody matters. And I think that's what that's what I've discovered myself. Increasingly, the more I read human behavior, the more I read organizational development, etc. Everybody matters, and the practice of empathy and non-judgment is woven throughout the guides, because that's good for relationships, it's good for organizations, and it's good for you as an individual.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Interesting. Maybe, it's worth a blog post about that one. I'm not sure, but definitely some people would be interested in that, I'm sure.
Well, there's a little bit of some people ask, like, well, why is this focus on companies and spreading working out loud there? And the two reasons are, I think the systems that we've set up can bring out the worst in us in terms of us and them in competition. And I see working out loud as a kind of nice viral antidote to that. So I've gone out of my way to make it workplace friendly, but it's almost like a sheep in wolf's clothing, so to speak. That people in working out loud circles tend to be nice and kind and generous, and they spread those behaviors even in the service of, I want to accomplish a goal and I want to be more effective, and it's in the onboarding program, all of the corporate trappings. I think that's a nice formula, and that's why I don't overplay the spiritual elements or whatever else we talk about.
Mm-hmm. When a lot of people are probably now in your situation back, I don't know, some years ago, right? Maybe it's 2008, maybe it's 2011 for them, I don't know. But they're kind of thinking of something and then maybe hesitating of doing it, not doing it, afraid.
Oh, yeah.
You said horrified, right? Like, looking back now from your perspective, where you are now and with your experiences, what helped you do the step forward, like step out into this, place of uncertainty, you say, I don't know. You know what I mean? What would you recommend people to really get the strength and the confidence to step out? What helps?
So at the risk of being obvious, I would join the Working Out Loud circle. And the reason is, and I wish I had this, back in the day when I started, because I thought I had to take some big leap, like I have to make a change. And it would be some dramatic thing. And I talked about how difficult it was for me to get started and take these steps. All that suffering isn't necessary. Small steps in a psychologically safe space over time will lead you to more options and opportunities and discovery. So I think what stops or paralyzes many people is this idea that I have to do something big, and I'm so uncertain, or the risk seems so high, that I don't do anything. And what the circle does is break down the change process. I think there's something that's fear-free. It's even kind of nice. It's with these other people who've got your back. And you do it over time so that it actually gets you somewhere. So you do make progress, but you do it in a way that feels a bit more comfortable, that feels a bit more welcoming, and supportive. And so we just did an experiment with people looking for jobs in Europe. And there were a few countries, Switzerland, Germany, Italy. And, looking for a job is super stressful. It touches all the buttons inside you, and confidence and self-esteem and all of that. But boy, when they were in their circle, they realized, like, again, there's more than I have to offer. I'm not just the guy or lady looking for a job who's been unemployed. I'm not just a resume. It's not just, did they like me or not? I'm more than that. And every week you're reminded of that, why you take steps that help you take a bit more control over your reputation and career. So that's what I would offer people is join the circle, register at workingoutloud.com, use the free guides to start, but to do so in a way that doesn't have all the suffering and starts to build some positive momentum for you.
And for all the people who want to dive a little bit deeper into working out loud, there's your book, right? Coming out in German language in the next few weeks. I think it's in the end of September. Is that correct?
It's the publisher's Wahlen, and they just moved it to October 4th. And
right.
Yeah, very excited. It's the first time. It's a second edition. It's all new. It'll be in German. And I'm really eager to see the reception from the German audience.
I'm pretty sure it will be as fantastic as the reception from all over the world so far. I'll definitely read it in German and maybe make a surprise to some people who didn't read it in the original in English. John, thank you. And you're learning German also. Thank you. Thank you very much for talking with me for this podcast interview. I had a lot of fun, and I'm sure a lot of people will listen to it and really enjoy what we talked about. Thank you very much.
It was a pleasure, Sascha. Thanks very much.
Das war der Sterne- und Planeten-Podcast mit John Stepper. Vielen Dank, dass du zugehört und uns beiden damit einen Teil deiner Lebenszeit geschenkt hast. Mich würde wirklich noch interessieren, was diese Folge bei dir bewirkt hat. Schreibe uns gerne dein Feedback an info@sterneundplaneten.com oder gib uns ein paar Sterne auf iTunes oder der Plattform deiner Wahl. Danke und alles Gute. Mit planetaren Grüßen, dein Sascha.